Hi everybody, this is Daniela Antelo, team leader of the Houston broker team at Keller Williams, and I'm sitting today with Idalia Guerra. She's a professional licensed engineer. She's going to talk to us today about how we can convert those ditches that we see on the streets into usable spaces for parking that will increase the curb appeal of your property. So thank you, Idalia, for being here today.
I am a professional licensed civil engineer. I practice doing different things such as site development or things like this where clients come and say they need more parking. And especially in the Heights area is a very popular area where we have these open ditches, and most of my clients' concerns are parking, also the safety issues of their children falling in the ditch or elderly people falling in the ditch, or the thing that I see the most are vehicles falling into the ditch. So the city of Houston does allow for the homeowner or landowner to cover these ditches, but they must do it in a responsible way. The steps in order to do that is to pull a permit, and what that entails is hiring a professional civil engineer to create some civil engineering plans. The engineer will create the plans to provide drainage analysis in order to make sure that the amount of water that used to flow through those ditches continues on and flows through the ditch, and at the same time allows us to cover these ditches and allows people to park on them. But there are also other creative things you can do if you don't want to provide parking. I have clients call the time and say they just don't like these ditches. So
don't blame them.
Yeah, it's quite an eyesore, and like I said, there is sometimes a safety issue with them. So I've done a couple of properties where they like to cover it with sod and make a nice little green space for them, and it comes out quite nicely.
Yeah.
What we are definitely going to probably show you all
and see a couple of examples of some projects that Idalia has taken.
Yes.
Are there any concerns about flooding when it comes to covering the ditch? Is that something that clients ask about?
Of course, there's always that concern, and that is why it's really important to have these ditches or the covered ditches go through the city for them to also review these plans. The main thing that the city is always looking at is to make sure that the amount of water that's conveyed through the ditch is still being conveyed, that they still have the same capacity. So that is what the engineer that's the role that the engineer plays in this. They analyze it to make sure that the same water that was going through there continues to go through there. There's nothing being stopped up or backed up, and to prevent any type of flooding.
So if I'm a property owner and I want to add extra space in the front of my house for parking, what do I do first?
So the first thing would be to get a survey. Now when we tell our clients this, usually everybody always says, oh, I have a survey. It's not your boundary survey we're looking for. We need a topographical survey of showing the elevations within the ditch. And the reason we need that is because that allows us to see those elevation points and to be able to draw the drawings showing that the water is still being conveyed in the correct direction. That's the first step is getting the survey. Then from there, the engineer is able to provide the drawings. We submit them to the city. That's the process that takes a little while. The city does have to review, and keep in mind, this is the city of Houston. They review everybody's drawings. So typically, they take about 6 to 8 weeks for them to review. Once they review the plans, they send it back to the engineer to make sure there's nothing that needs to be addressed. If there is nothing that needs to be addressed, we are able to then get the final signatures from the city of Houston and then pull a permit to build your parking pad or green space area.
That's great. And then how does it work afterwards? Do you hire the contractors to cover the ditches, or do you have to go through the City of Houston licensed contractors? Who makes that decision?
So we are able to hire any contractor. The city just asks that they are bonded, and when they pull their permit to start building these ditches, they have to have a certain type of insurance. So they just do have to submit certain paperwork through the City of Houston. As far as I go, I'm not connected to a contractor. I do use or recommend a contractor. I used them for my own property, and so far I've used them on all of my projects, and people have been very, very pleased with him.
Great. And then once the ditch is built, who does that belong to?
It's a great question. Absolutely a great question. So, like I said, this is we are building over the City of Houston right of way. Therefore, the property does still belong to City of Houston. So if you build a parking spot to provide parking for your tenants, keep in mind it does not belong to your property. Anybody's still able to park over this area. With that being said, even though it belongs to the City of Houston, as the owner, you're still liable for maintaining the actual culvert, meaning that if there's leaves or any type of dirt that goes through that culvert and causes any sort of blocking of the pipe, it's your responsibility to clean it. As well as the ditches, though. Your ditch in front of your property, you are also supposed to keep up with the maintenance of this ditch. So it's the same kind of maintenance that you have already with this ditch. But like I said, it still belongs to the City of Houston. It is just because you build over it does not mean you're the sole owner of this of that portion.
Yeah, but it's great to know that you have the choice to actually get rid of that, because it is something that increases your curb appeal.
Oh, absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely.
I find this question many times when I'm working with buyers or even people that are looking to rent, especially inside the city, where people have a third vehicle and we don't have 3 parking garages. Most of the time we have a 2-car garage.
Yes.
And I think that having the option of a covered ditch increases the amount of people that are going to be looking at your property or are going to be considering it, because believe it or not, parking is a huge consideration when it comes to purchasing or renting a home.
Another one of safety issues that I've noticed, if we don't have this extra parking, it's very difficult for vehicles to even drive through a street. I've been in many situations where I'm driving down the street, there's 2 cars, there's ditches, and the cars unfortunately can't move over any because if not, they fall in a ditch. And we cannot drive through this street. So I've had to do many turnarounds and choose a different street to go down. So sorry, another advantage of why we should have parking in our neighborhoods.
No, absolutely. And for me, of course, as a realtor, I'm looking at it from like a curb appeal perspective, and I'm looking at it also from the point of view of now, like a renter has an option to have a 3rd car or even a property owner. But also so many times I'm trying to park when I'm showing houses, and I swear to God, I'm always terrified. And of course my wheel is like half in the ditch. It's like, if we could only have something to cover these things. I mean, there's so many uses, we don't really think about it, but I find this fascinating that there is an option not only to do this to your property, but also you're really beautifying the city this way.
It is,
right?
That is very true.
So
now we could show them some creative ways of how to beautify the city.
All right, we're going to walk around the neighborhood and see some of the projects that Idalia has done, and hopefully you're going to get inspired. And if you have absolutely any questions about how to ditch your ditch, or any questions about buying property as an investor or even first-time home buyer, don't hesitate to contact me today, 713-494-8170 or antelodani@gmail.com.
Hi, welcome back to Ditch Your Ditch with Daniela and Antelo. I wanted to show you an example on a creative way on how to cover your ditch. This example here, we have a covered, we have a parking pad that is with stained concrete. Actually, it's a stamped stained concrete. The City of Houston allows only for certain materials to be used when we create these parking pads. One of them being concrete, the second asphalt, and the last but not least is grass. And so, of course, who wants just plain concrete? Let's get a little creative, and this is a way to get creative. This is actually the most popular one I have because it allows for parking, and yet it adds a nice curb appeal. A lot of clients use different types of stamps. This is the paver look. There are many other choices that you can use. You can also have different colors as well. Next, we're going to move on to a way to create a very nice green space for your outdoor area. Hi everybody, welcome back to Ditch Your Ditch with Daniela and Antelo. I'm Idalia Guerra. I'm a licensed civil engineer. I wanted to show you a great example on how to create a green space and also a way to provide a nice curb appeal in front of your home by covering your ditch. This house actually used to have an open ditch similar to their next door neighbors where everything was completely open. They always had the concern of people falling into their ditch since we are on the Heights bike trail. And so they had contacted me to see if it's possible to cover their ditch. And so I provided the services of getting them the permit and running it through the city and having them review it. And after we pulled the permit, we constructed covering their ditch, and they ended up creating this nice little green space with this nice landscape. As you can see, they got Yard of the Month.